Have you ever gotten the feeling something wasn't right, but you just couldn't put your finger on the problem? Well, I've been getting that feeling at home and it's driving me nuts. I have a sneaking suspicion that Amy, my wife of 7 years, is cheating on me, Tom Matson. I have talked to her about our relationship and she assures me everything is just fine. I even went so far as to hire my unemployed cousin to follow her around for a couple of weeks. I put him in a rental car and gave him a nice video camera to record her. He did a decent job of recording her as she went about her daily routine, but didn't uncover any extracurricular activities. My job as a senior project manager with a large bank keeps me tied to the office all day. I seldom travel and never work on weekends. It's rare for me to have to work late, so Amy has never complained about me being away too much. I make pretty good money as a 29-year-old SPM, so we have a nice house and drive nice cars. We have no children as yet, but have pretty active lives. We socialize with several sets of friends, including neighbors, my co-workers, and our old friends from school. We both enjoy cycling, so we sometimes hang out with a few other couples who are members of our bicycling club. In short, we look like the storybook couple. I have racked my brain trying to come up with a reason for thinking Amy would be cheating on me, but have failed. We both said we wanted to wait until she turned 30 to try having kids because we wanted to be financially secure. Also, we both wanted to have fun and enjoy each other before we spent 20 to 25 years raising kids. Amy is about 6 months younger than I am and works as a dog groomer. Her degree in fine arts didn't do much for her in the job market, so I suggested she just start a business doing something she loves. Well, she loves dogs. We have 2. So we bought a custom-made trailer that she hooked to her SUV, and voila, she was in the dog grooming business. She has a few dozen regular clients and drives to their houses about once a month to groom their pets. Her heated and air-conditioned trailer has hot water, a vacuum system, a blow dryer, and everything else she might need for dog grooming. Like us, a few of her clients have a pet wash mudroom off their garage, so she uses it rather than her trailer. Amy has the little square thing that allows her to take credit cards, but it seems most of her money tips come in as cash. I know this because I helped her with her books and filing her tax forms. So, what makes me think she is cheating? Goodness if I know. We have a great relationship. Amy is willing to do just about anything my mind can think of, and I can't remember ever saying no to anything she requested. We are both home nearly every evening and weekend. We always socialize together. We do our cycling together and go to the gym together, so when could she be cheating? The only time we really spend any time apart is when we are working, hence the reason I hired my cousin to follow her for 2 weeks. He actually surprised me by bringing me a full report on her activities, including times, locations, and videos of her coming and going to each appointment and everywhere in between. There were no unexplained missing time lapses. All her time was fully documented. I even checked her receipts against her appointment calendar, and they looked correct. Still, there was just something in her eyes, in her smile, in her voice. Something was just off, and it had been that way for about 6 months. I just couldn't come right out and accuse her of anything because I had nothing of which to accuse her. Maybe I'm just paranoid or losing my mind. I watched her when we were out with friends, and she mostly hung out with the other ladies. I never saw her in whispered conversation with another guy. She never disappeared at parties or left with anyone on an hour-long beer ice run. I tried to be casual about my observation of my wife, but Brad, one of my oldest friends, picked up on it at the last big party. "Tom, man, you have got to loosen her leash. You won't let that poor girl get more than 20 feet from you. What's the deal, dude?" Embarrassed, I asked him to keep his voice down. "Brad, I have a feeling she may be playing away from home, so I've been trying to keep an eye on her." "You're kidding me, right? Amy? You think Amy is cheating on you? You are some kind of messed up man. There is no way Amy is messing around with anyone at this party." "How do you know?" "How can you be so sure she isn't seeing any of these guys?" I questioned. "Brace yourself, dude. About half the guys here have hit on her because she is so attractive. I mean, look at her. Lean, toned, nice figure, great physique, gorgeous legs, beautiful face, and a smile that lights up the room. Wow, you are one lucky guy. Okay, see? All these guys hit on her. So which one's got lucky, huh? I asked. None of us. Yeah, buddy. I said US because I hit on her every chance I get. Never once has she done anything but laugh in my face. The other guys say the same thing. She always acts like it's a joke and just laughs us off. God, what I wouldn't give to be you just one night. Geez, Brad, am I going to have to push you away to keep you away from my wife? That's what I'm saying, silly. You don't have to. She's untouchable, Brad replied. So you say, but something is going on. I just know it, I replied. Look, Tom, I love you like a brother, but if you mess up and upset her enough to dump your silly self, I will step on your face as I race all these other guys to her door. I threw up my hands. Okay, I'm being stupid. I love her with all my heart and I don't want to lose her. Please, Brad, don't say anything to anyone about this and I'll try to do better. Brad laughed and pounded me on the back. You just go home and treat her right or I'll be knocking on your door. So that was my wake-up call. I took Amy home that night and we had a wonderful evening. I decided I was just wasting my energy and making myself crazy for no reason. All my investigations showed nothing and she was still treating me like a king. I told myself I was done playing detective and needed to start trusting my wife. From the perspective Amy. When I got to Brad's house for Buster's monthly grooming, I could tell he was nervous. What's up? How has Tom been since the party? Is he still acting weird? No, it's only been a few days, but he seems fine. Why are you asking about Tom? I questioned. I saw him staring at you at the party. I'd had a bit too much to drink and I started busting his chops about spying on you. What? You moron! Now he's going to have his cousin watching you, I replied. No, I played it off like I was concerned he'd lost his marbles, just like we discussed. I told him we all hit on you, but you always shot us down and he had nothing to worry about. Now what's this about his cousin? Brad asked. I told you I saw him like 4 times in the last couple of weeks and I'd never seen him around town before. Maybe I'm paranoid, but I think he may have been following me. That's weird. I know he suspects something is going on but can't figure it out. Has Tom said anything to you? Brad asked. No, not since the last time he asked me if we were okay. That really upset me. I love him, but he'd never understand, so he can't know what we've done. I agree. Tom is a good guy. Knowing about this would just cause him pain, Brad replied. Amy nodded her head and said, Okay. Well, I've got about an hour. Do you want the usual? Yeah, sure, Brad said with a grin as he followed Amy into the house. As usual, I need $200 in cash and I'll charge your card $75 for Buster, Amy said as she followed Brad to the bedroom. Brad was a little quicker than usual that day, so they just lay in bed and talked. Brad, you need to tell the other guys to be extra careful not to say anything stupid around Tom. We've had a lot of fun and you guys have been very generous, but I'm going to stop my little side business in a couple of months. Stop! Why would you do that? Brad asked. I'm almost to my goal of $12,000, which I need to pay for our surprise trip to Hawaii. I hope Tom will get me pregnant while we are on that trip. I'm going to have to go off the pill and I can't take any chances with any of you, Amy said with a chuckle. I can't see that ever happening. We all have our own wives. We pay you for letting us have special time with you because our wives won't do that. Brad then leaned down and tried to kiss Amy. Amy jerked her head back. Whoa! What are you doing? Brad, we talked about this before. This is not romance. This is business. Money for a special service, nothing more. Now don't make me have to tell you that again. Brad pouted. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just you are so beautiful, I get carried away sometimes. Amy patted his cheek. I know, sweetie. I like all of you guys and I enjoy our time together, but it's not love. It's just business. Amy got out of bed. I need to give Buster a quick shampoo before I go, and you need to get back to work. I have you scheduled for 4 weeks from today, and that will be the last time we do this, she said, pointing at the bed. Darn, I'm really going to miss this. So, how about after you're pregnant? Brad asked. Amy laughed. I don't think so. I'm planning to be out of this business permanently. Well, think about it. I think it would be pretty exciting, and I bet the others would too. Heck, we might even pay extra. Amy laughed again. Tempting, but I don't want to risk it anymore. I love Tom, but he's not like me. To him, it's always about love. He'd never understand our business arrangement, and neither would any of the wives. Yeah, I get it. Millie and the other wives would go nuts if they found out. As Amy shampooed the dog, she thought about how her first time with Brad happened. He had pestered her every time she came to groom his dog, always making comments and accidentally rubbing up against her. She finally had enough and told him to behave. She said if she didn't need the money, she'd dump him as a client. That led to him offering her an extra big tip in cash if she'd let him rub up against her while she worked. Amy thought that was pretty pathetic, but it would allow her to reach her vacation goal sooner, so she agreed. Pretty soon, he was begging her for more intimate services and kept offering her more money. When he offered her $1,000 cash, she didn't believe him and called his bluff. 20 minutes later, she accepted his offer. On the next visit, he gave her $500 for a repeat performance, and then they agreed on $200 for each time thereafter. Once a month, Brad played poker with Tim, Frank, and Roland. Not too often, but sometimes Tom would join them. The table talk was often about relationships and usually included complaints about their wives not being adventurous enough. On one such night when Tom was not present, a slightly drunk Brad hinted he had finally gotten some special attention. Of course, all the guys were all over him for details. He asked them if they would be willing to pay for services from an extremely discreet married lady. They laughed at him when he said he paid $200 for the best experience he had ever had. A few days passed, and Tim called him and asked if his story was real. Then, not surprisingly, the other two called, and pretty soon Amy had new bookings for groomings with 3 more of her casual friends. She met with each and explained what she would do and why it would just be once a month for no more than the next 6 months or so. Amy was making about $800 a month from her side business and another $1,200 to $1,400 a month from actual dog grooming. She knew all 4 of her clients would be discreet because they were all married with children and none wanted to be divorced. She felt some guilt, but to her it was just a service, like dog grooming, nothing more. She loved Tom and planned to have his children. She was faithful to him in all other ways and never refused him. Her arrangement with these men was purely business and nothing more. She needed just a few more weeks to reach her goal. Then she'd stop the extra stuff so she could concentrate on making a baby. Switching back to the perspective of Tom. I was sitting at my desk, reviewing some financial reports, when my personal cell phone lit up. I looked down at my buzzing phone. It was my cousin, Chuck. I wondered why my cousin would be calling. Hey, Chuck, what can I do for you? Hi, Tom. Say, I just finished watching a movie and it got me thinking about what you had me doing for you a few weeks back. Look, Chuck, that's over. We never found anything and I have gotten over my paranoia. Amy and I are just fine now. I'm glad to hear that you're getting along. After watching that movie, I thought I may have missed something, but you seem to have moved on, so I'm sorry for the call. Tom was just about to end the call when he heard a small voice in the back of his head telling him to be careful. He sighed loudly. Okay, Chuck. What did you see that made you think you might have missed something? Well, in the movie, this guy was a realtor, but he was doing something illegal on the side. Geez, Chuck, Amy is not doing anything illegal. I know, just listen. The guy would go to a house for a showing for a potential buyer. Well, the buyer was there for other reasons, not the house. The cops that were watching the realtor sat outside while he was inside the listed house conducting illegal business and pretending to be selling the house. Amy is not a realtor. Look, Chuck, I have to get back to work. Tom, I know she's not a realtor, but she goes to people's houses and stays there for an hour or more. Sometimes she's in her trailer, but sometimes she's inside, out of sight. Tom's mind was racing. His old paranoia was back. Oh no! Did you make notes on which dogs she did in her trailer and which she did in the house? No, but the video of her arriving and leaving would show her going into her trailer if she used it. Do you still have it? No, I dumped all of that stuff. Did you keep a copy? You told me to dump it. Chuck, I know you liked watching her, so if you kept it, I'm not mad. I'll go through it and get all the info on her in-house stops. Can you stop by here on your way home? Sure. I'll leave a little early and be at your place at 4. Will that give you enough time to go through it? Sure, I'm pretty familiar with it, so I can do it pretty quickly. See you at 4 o'clock. Goodness, Tom thought. Chuck must be watching the tapes. The poor guy needs a job and a girlfriend. So, during the 2 weeks I followed her, these 3 were the only in-house jobs she had. I have a video of her being greeted by the client at each house. The first is a little girl, followed pretty quickly by an older lady, who I assume is the grandma or a nanny. The second is a guy who lets her in, but then he leaves about 10 minutes later. You can clearly see his face as he backs out of the drive. I assume he just leaves her there, and she lets herself out the front, and it locks behind her. Of course, I have no idea if there was anyone else in the house, but you can see she closes the front door herself. At the third house, a guy lets her in and he then leaves about an hour later. Then Amy lets herself out the front door. Here's the video of the dude leaving, and here she is leaving 30 minutes later. Chuck stopped the tape and turned to see Tom staring, transfixed, at the blank screen. He waited for Tom to say something, but he just continued staring at the screen. "Cuz? Tom? You okay?" He got no answer. I pulled out my phone and opened a calendar. It was Amy's appointment scheduled for the next month. I looked up at Chuck and pointed at the screen. "That last house has a first-floor master. Do you think you could get a peek inside it without getting arrested?" Probably. But if the shades are pulled, I won't be able to see inside. Do you think it's this guy? Maybe, but he's a friend of ours, so it could be nothing, although he's admitted he's attracted to her. So maybe. She's due back there tomorrow. Can you follow her and then try to get a peek at what is going on inside? Yeah, sure. But if they are doing something inappropriate, maybe they don't use the master bedroom. Okay, well, just do what you can without getting caught. Amy may recognize you and she'll know I sent you. Okay, this time I'll wear a disguise and use my mom's minivan. Plus, I know where she's going and what time she'll be there, so I don't have to follow her there. I'm not real good at tailing cars, and it's possible she may have seen me the last time. Seen you? Why didn't you tell me that when it happened? Well, I wasn't sure, and I was afraid you'd make me quit. I'm sorry, cuz I really needed the money. Forget it. Just be careful not to get caught this time, okay? Chuck knew Amy's appointment was set for 10 the next morning, so at 9:30, he pulled onto a street 1 block over from Brad's street. He had scouted the area last night and found a way into a neighbor's backyard with a clump of bushes that pushed up against Brad's back fence. He parked so that he could peer between the 2 houses and see the rear patio door of Brad's house. Chuck assumed Brad would put his dog out shortly before Amy arrived. Then once she showed up, the dog would be too busy to notice him creeping around the backyard. The dog was still outside when Amy arrived. Buster went nuts barking and jumping on the door. Amy opened the patio door and let the dog in, and it jumped all over her. Chuck waited about 2 minutes and then darted across the lawn and up to the rear corner of the house. He inched his way toward the bedroom window and cursed as he saw the blinds had been closed. He knew there were 2 additional windows on the side of the house, but he feared he'd be too exposed to the street if he went there. As he stood pressed against the rear of the house, a neighbor on the far side of Brad's house let her dog out. The dog charged the fence and barked. Chuck had no choice. He hopped the fence and slipped along the side of the house toward the first window. The louvered blinds had been closed, but not completely. He placed the camera so it viewed through the gap in the blinds and began recording. He had pressed himself up against the house and froze there. He feared any movement might give him away. He was shooting blindly through the window because he couldn't risk stooping to peer through the camera. He slowly moved the camera around, hoping he got a shot of the entire room. He froze as he saw an elderly couple walk by on the front walk. He waited until they were out of view. He checked up and down the street, and seeing no one, he darted to the walk and made his way up the street. He walked around the block and got back to his car. He was breathing heavily from the adrenaline rush as he started the car and drove away. Chuck was still headed home when his cell rang. "Hello? Did you see anything?" "I couldn't see anything, but I may have something on a video of the room." "What do you mean you may have? Did you get the video or not?" Chuck explained, then said, "I haven't looked at it yet. I'm still headed home." "No, don't go home. Come here and we'll watch it in my office. I'll call the front desk and they'll bring you up." 15 minutes later, Chuck handed me the camera and I plugged it into my personal laptop. The video opened with a shot of the side of a bed. In the very top of the frame, there appeared to be some occasional glimpses of human knees and lower legs, but nothing more. After a few moments of the same footage, the camera moved and only the side of the bed was visible. I moaned in frustration. "Darn, this is useless. There is nothing here." As I spoke, the camera moved again, and two bodies flew through the frame as the camera captured the ceiling fan above the bed. "What was that? Can we go back and maybe freeze that?" I said as I reached toward the built-in keyboard. "Wait!" Chuck stuck out his arm. "Just wait a second." The camera moved again, and the air rushed out of my lungs as I let out a sorrowful gasp. "Oh no!" The camera had captured Amy engaged in an intimate act with Brad. After a few seconds, Amy turned her face toward the camera, and Tom's world came crashing down. Chuck shut off the camera and unplugged it from the laptop. He pulled the memory stick he had plugged into the laptop and handed it to Tom. "I'm so sorry, cuz. I was hoping I was all wrong about this." He patted his cousin, grabbed his gear, and walked out of Tom's office. Across town, Brad sat in his office, staring out his window, while he talked on the phone. "Yeah, man. She said she is going to quit. She wants to surprise Tom with a trip to Hawaii, and she wants him to have a baby with her while she's there. I tried, but she's already made up her mind. I'm guessing she'll tell you everything next week when you see her." "Well, sure. Try to talk her out of it." "Yeah. Okay, see ya, Tim." "Darn!" he cried as he pounded his fist on his desk. Brad knew he had seriously fallen for Amy. It didn't bother him in the least that he had to pay her. At least he got to see that beautiful body. Back at Brad's house, Marjorie, the housekeeper, began stripping the bed in the master bedroom. She, of course, noticed the fresh stains, but that was to be expected. They'd been there several times when she came to clean the house. You'd think the owners would be embarrassed about leaving her a mess to clean up, but no. She remade the bed and moved on. She put the bedding in the wash, thinking it could wash while she cleaned the rest of the house. Her eyes fell on the wet stains again, and she thought, "Rich people, they have no shame." As I sat at my desk, my mind was spinning out of control as I tried to come to grips with what I'd seen on the video. I spent a couple of weeks convincing myself I was just being paranoid and Amy was not cheating on me. Now, reality had smacked me in the mouth. Amy was cheating with my now former friend, Brad. My heart ached with the pain of knowing I had been betrayed by my wife and a man I had thought was my friend. The shock of it had been severe. Amy had never shown any interest in Brad. Why would she succumb to his advances? It made no sense whatsoever. She definitely wasn't being forced and didn't appear to be drugged, so no excuses. She was willingly cheating. A terrible thought struck me as I sat and contemplated my next move. What if there are others? Brad had warned me that all of my friends hit on Amy. What if Brad wasn't the only snake in the garden? Geez, I was going to need more of Chuck's help. Over the next 4 weeks, Chuck gathered videos of Amy with Tim, Roland, and Frank. I was crushed to know the guys I once thought of as friends were all seeing my wife. The humiliation was deep and extremely painful, yet somehow I had to manage to pretend all was well at home while I gathered all of the evidence. I arrived home at the usual time, and Amy informed me she was taking us to my favorite steakhouse for dinner. I was leery, but went along with a fake smile on my face. When we got home, Amy sat me down on the couch and brought out her brochures for their trip to Hawaii. She excitedly explained how she had saved her earnings to buy the trip, and everything was fully arranged and completely prepaid. She had even called my boss and told him about the surprise, so my vacation time was fully approved. I was a bit overwhelmed by the vacation news. We had talked about such a trip many times, but the cost had caused us to postpone it until our savings account was larger. Now, Amy's eyes sparkled with excitement as she told me her plans. "Baby, I've got it all timed out. I've gone off the pill, so when we get to Hawaii, I should be ovulating. We'll make love twice every day and I'll come home pregnant with our baby. Isn't that the most romantic thing you've ever heard?" I mentally reviewed my plans and then turned to my wife. "Why, yes, I think that will work out just fine." Amy squealed and jumped into my arms. "Come on, let's go practice making babies." I assumed she was still safe, and I knew I couldn't very well decline her offer. So we shared a special evening together, and then I allowed myself to drift off to sleep. Sally Hawk reviewed the videos and listened to my request. "So you want her served at the airport and the videos delivered to the 4 wives at the same time the guys get the fake alienation of affection lawsuits?" "Yes, they will all be at the airport for a big send-off party. I've arranged for a limo to pick them up and deliver all 4 couples to the airport. We have reserved tables at the Flyers Lounge, and so there will be drinks and appetizers and a big banner that says, 'Goodbye, Amy,' which will be unfurled when your process server hands her the papers. The fake lawsuits are just for shock value, but I want the guys off balance. I've never before had anyone request that, but it should be quite a show. When do you want the server to show up?" "It has to be right as they call her flight, so 1 p.m. on Saturday." The big day came, and all the cheaters and their hapless spouses were gathered at the airport's Flyers Lounge. All the luggage was pre-checked, including some of Amy's additional personal items, which were packed into what she thought was a suitcase I'd be using. I kept a close eye on the clock, and just moments before the server was due to arrive, I stood and called for everyone's attention. "Amy, you have been the love of my life since we met nearly 9 years ago. When you started the grooming business, I was very proud of your efforts. You worked very hard to build your business into a profitable, thriving concern." I knew that line would get a few smirks from the guys. "When you decided to spend all your profits on this wonderful getaway, I was very pleased. So, I have a small token of appreciation for each of you. Now, as my assistant hands out the gifts, let's all raise a glass to Amy and wish her bon voyage." I gave a small nod, and the large banner unfurled above our heads, just as Amy received her envelope and heard my assistant say, "You've been served." I turned to the wives and said, "Ladies, I humbly apologize for the theatrics, and I wish you well." And with that, I turned and walked away just as they called Amy's flight for boarding. Behind me, chaos erupted as everyone began yelling at each other. Amy was screaming my name, but I never looked back. Because I had done all the pre-separation things Sally had advised, I didn't have to speak to Amy until our first meeting at Sally's office. The lawyers had argued back and forth, and we were meeting today to settle everything and sign papers. Amy had insisted I agree to give her a 30-minute audience after the meeting. I just assumed she wanted a chance to explain what she'd done to blow up our marriage. As part of her prep work, Sally had hired a real PI to review Chuck's work, and he uncovered the financial arrangements my soon-to-be ex-wife had made with her 4 friends. It came as quite a shock to learn I had been living with someone who was selling herself for nearly a year, but it helped to kill any lingering feelings I still had for Amy. Sally also informed me that Amy did not get on the airplane that day. Her tickets went unused and the vacation was canceled with no refunds. When we gathered around the conference table, Amy tried to talk to me, and I ignored her until everything was signed. After the lawyers shook hands, we were left alone. I sat across the table and just stared at her. "Thank you for agreeing to talk to me. I am so sorry for the hurt I have caused you. I still don't understand why you divorced me. What I did mean nothing. It was just a business arrangement, a service, nothing more. You are the only man I love and the only man I will ever truly love. Tom, please, we are so good together, please, baby. Why can't we just put this behind us? It was just a meaningless transaction. I held my hand up to stop her. Amy, I believe you. When you agreed to provide that service to those guys, I knew it meant nothing to you. To you, it was like you agreed to let them wash your feet or paint your toenails. It was an intimate act, but of no real consequence to anyone. Do I have that right? Her tear-streaked face lit up. Yes! Oh my God, you do understand. It was meaningless. I raised my hand again. Yes, it took me a while to see it, but I fully understand that what you did was just a completely meaningless business transaction to you. But it was so much more to me. Let me ask you, Amy, when you made those arrangements, did you think I'd agree to your arrangement? She hung her head. Well, there's the problem. Maybe it meant nothing to you, but you sure as heck knew it would mean everything to me, and you did it anyway. I stood and tossed two $100 bills on the table in front of Amy and said, "Thanks for your time today. Here is your usual fee." Then I turned and walked out. As I walked away, I reminded myself I had to complete my plans for a little baseball bat payback for Brad and the others. But I was in no hurry. Their day would come. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.